January 2026, Doha, Qatar. The stands of the WTT champions watch intently as the round of 16 match unfolds. On the court, Liang Jingkun, the 1.83-meter giant from Tangshan, Hubei province, faces Lin Shidong. This is no ordinary match. It is a reflection of a dynamic that has been brewing for months within the Chinese national team. Liang falls defeated, 4-2-2. The scoreboard says one thing, but the story says another. Something is happening with Liang Jingkun. Welcome to this in-depth analysis. I am your host, and today we are going to dedicate a full video to dissecting the current situation of Liang Jingkun in this year 2026. We won't talk about superficial rumors. Instead, we'll base ourselves on confirmed results, official ITTF statistics, and on-the-ground reports to understand what is happening with the world's number 13 ranked player. Are we facing a simple slump in results? Are there physical factors behind it? How does he fit into the fierce internal competition of the Asian giant? Join me on this journey to find out. To understand where we are, we must draw a map, and that map consists of the official results that the ITTF has recorded for Liang Jingkun. So far in 2026, get your notepads ready, because the data is cold and sometimes it hurts. The year began in January with the WTT Champions Doha 2026, a high-caliber tournament, the kind that earns valuable ranking points. Liang got through the first round. He faced Nigerian Quadri Aruna in the round of 32. It was a clean victory, 3-0, with set scores of 11-5, 11-2, and 11-6. It seemed like a promising start. In the round of 16, he met young Chen Yuanyu, another compatriot, and he won again. Another 3-2-0 with scores of 11-7, 11-3, and 11-7. 2 matches, 2 wins, 0 sets lost. The machine seemed loyal, but then came the quarterfinal of the opponent, Lin Shidong. And here's where things get interesting. Liang started by losing the first game, 8-11. He reacted, won the second, 11-6, and lost the third. He again, winning the fourth, 11-4. It was 2-2. But in the decisive games, something broke. An 8-11 and a 9-11 closed the match with a final 4-2 scoreline. A quarterfinal defeat. It wasn't a disaster, but a pattern was beginning to emerge. Close matches slipping away in key moments. The following week, the calendar gave no respite. It was time for the WTT star contender Doha 2026. Here the story was shorter and more bitter. In the round of 64, Liang Jingkun faced Zhou Kaihao, and he lost. It was a 2-3 roller coaster match. He lost the first 2 games 5-11 and 8-11. Came back to win the third and fourth 11-9 and 11-6. And in the fifth and decisive game, he fell short at 8-11, an early defeat. Again, a close match that didn't fall his way. But if there was one result that truly set off alarm bells, it was the next one. At the end of January, at the WTT contender Muscat 2026, Liang Jingkun, a player with experience in Smash finals, fell in the round of 64, the executioner Wang Yuxin, also Chinese, and it wasn't a close match. It was a resounding 0-3, with set scores of 10-12, 6-11, and 9-11, an early elimination that hurts. 3 tournaments in January. In 2, he was eliminated by compatriots, and in 1, he reached the quarterfinals. The start of 2026 was not the dream he had hoped for. And here I want us to pause on a crucial detail. According to the player's official profile on the ITTF updated as of January 2026, his ranking was world number 7. But pay attention to this detail. His best historical ranking was number 2, achieved in week 31 of 2024. That means that in approximately a year and a half, Liang has gone from being the second best player on the planet to and the trend with these results does not point to an imminent recovery in the rankings. His overall career statistics are impressive. Over 400 matches played, more than 320 victories, 9 absolute titles. But in 2026, the summary is cold. 3 events, 5 matches, 2 wins, and 3 losses. A 40% effectiveness rate. For a member of the Chinese national team, that's quicksand. But results don't appear out of nowhere. Behind every ball that goes out, every match that slips away, there's a physical story. And in Liang Jingkun's case in 2026, that story has a technical name, lumbar disc herniation. Or, to be more precise, a disc protrusion at the L4 and L5 vertebrae. Let's lay out the facts. According to reports from the ground, specifically during the coverage of the WTT Champions Chongqing 2026, a concerning diagnosis was revealed. Liang Jingkun presents a disc protrusion or herniation of between 3.2 and 5.1 millimeters at the L4-L5 segment. For those unfamiliar with medical jargon, the lumbar spine bears a large part of the body's weight and is fundamental for rotation. And modern table tennis, especially Liang's style, is all about trunk rotation. Let's analyze his game. Liang is a right-handed player, a powerhouse. He typically generates a brutal amount of topspin from his forehand and backhand. This rotational movement, this hook to impart spin on the ball, demands violent and repetitive twisting of the lower back. With an injury of this type, every time he rotates to hit, he's compressing those damaged discs. The pain must be considerable. And this isn't a new problem in 2026. Already in previous tournaments, Liang was seen finishing matches, visibly uncomfortable. In fact, at the WTT contender Muscat, right before the loss to Wang Yuxing, there were reports that his lumbar injury flared up. In the words of the commentators, he was seen walking with difficulty, his legs feeling heavy as lead, needing assistance from the medical staff to leave the court. This isn't a minor annoyance. It's a chronic condition that affects every training session, every match, every movement. The problem for the high-level athlete is that the calendar doesn't wait, and Liang's injury comes at a time of generational transition in China. But we'll talk about that later. Now let's focus on how this affects his tennis. With a lumbar injury of this magnitude, the ability to train at maximum intensity is compromised. You can't do the same hours of practice. You can't repeat the same technical gestures over and over because pain prevents it. And in a sport of reflexes and muscle memory like this one, lack of quality training shows in matches. It shows in the form of balls that don't go in, movements that arrive late, wrong tactical decisions because the body doesn't respond to execute what the mind orders. If there is a turning point in this story, a place and a moment where all these variables came together, it was at the WTT Champions Chongqing 2026 in mid-March. This is where the narrative of the slump turns into a chronicle of resilience and, finally, a bittersweet defeat. Liang arrived in Chongqing needing to reconnect with his best version. In the first round, the round of 64, the draw pitted him against a generational duel against Xiang Peng, his compatriot and one of the youngsters, pushing from behind, and the match was a microcosm of his year. Liang starts strong. He gets to 8-3 in the first game. A partial victory seems a formality, but then something happens. Liang evaporates. Xiang Peng comes back and takes the first game. It's a psychological blow. Any player could crumble. The Liang Jingkun, and this must be said loud and clear, showed why he is a born competitor. He gritted his teeth. With his back probably burning, with the crowd holding its breath, Liang reacted. He started playing more aggressively, looking for the point from the start, not prolonging rallies. And so, with the grit of a veteran, he strung together 3 consecutive games, taking the match 3-1. It was a comeback that felt epic. The crowd, which had seen their idol suffer, erupted in joy. For a moment, we all believed the real Liang was back. But table tennis, like life, sometimes doesn't grant second acts. Barely 24 hours later, the round of 16 arrived. Across the net stood a familiar face and an uncomfortable style. German Dang Qiu, of Chinese origin, a specialist in backhand play with enviable tactical ability. And here, the body said enough, Liang started fantastically. His forehand sounded crisp, powerful. He took the first 2 games. The 2-0 scoreline invited optimism. But in the third game, something changed. Liang's movements started getting shorter. His famous backhand, usually a hammer, began to lack power. Dang Qiu, intelligent, sensed it. He started moving him side to side, opening up angles, forcing him to stretch. It was a Chinese torture. The German bloodhound pushed the Chinese giant to his physical limit. The third game went to Qiu. The fourth, match was 2-2. And in the fifth indecisive game, Liang Jingkun was no longer there. It's not a metaphor. His body didn't respond. The lumbar injury, after the previous day's exertion and the match's intensity, said enough. He lost the 5th game, and with it, the match 3-2. And then came the image of the tournament. The image of his 2026 Liang Jingkun, on his knees on the court, hands on his hips, gaze lost, sweat dripping as he processed the defeat. It wasn't just a match. It was the realization that, with a broken body, sometimes the head and heart aren't enough. Chongqing for Liang was that. Confirmation that he can compete, that he can beat anyone on an off day, but that the physical roller coaster is too steep. He was eliminated in the round of 16, a result that, in any other career, would be respectable. In his, and in the context of 2026, it was a wake-up call. But Liang Jingkun doesn't just compete against the world. He competes, and this is the deepest drama, against his own teammates. Being Chinese in table tennis is like being a gladiator. In ancient Rome, every day you fight for your sporting life in the arena of training. And in 2026, that arena is hotter than ever. Let's paint a picture of the situation. At the top, battling it out, are Wang Chuqin, the current number 1, and Lin Shidong, the young beast nipping at his heels. Lin Shidong, incidentally, is Liang's recurring nemesis. Check the history. Lin has defeated Liang in Doha 2026, at the Hong Kong Finals 2025, at the Macau World Cup 2025, in Chongqing 2025, in the final of the Singapore Smash 2025. He's a long shadow. A direct head-to-head that Liang just can't seem to solve. And then there's the emerging generation, youngsters like Chen Yuanyu, whom Liang beat in Doha, but who are pushing hard, like Xiang Peng, whom he came back against in Chongqing. Like when Ruibo, a 19-year-old who, at that same Chongqing 2026, caused an upset by eliminating Sweden's trolls, Moregard in a spectacular comeback, showing composure beyond his years. The message is clear. The young ones are hungry. In this context, Liang's position is delicate. He is 29 years old, which in Chinese table tennis is not a retirement age, but it is an age of you produce or you make way. He already faced a suspension in 2022 for a controversial gesture after winning a match. He has learned from that, but now the punishment is different. It's the punishment of results and rankings. There's a contextual detail we can't ignore. In March 2026, fellow national team member Lin Shidong, the same one who has beaten Liang so many times, was forced to withdraw from the WTT champions Chongqing. The official reasons were physical, but analysis spoke of exhaustion and a shoulder injury aggravated by the calendar. Chinese journalists described his situation as a technical and physical collapse. With a forehand usage percentage too low, making him predictable, if that happens to the world number 3, imagine the pressure on Liang, who is lower in the rankings. The internal Chinese competition isn't just a matter of rankings, it's a matter of trust. The head coach Liu Liang and the living legend Wang Liken, who now has management roles, are watching. Every loss by Liang, especially early ones, opens up a question mark. Is he still part of the plan for the upcoming World Championships? For the Olympic Games on the horizon? We don't know. But what we do know is that every match Liang plays in 2026 is a test, an exam. But it would be unfair to paint a completely bleak picture, because in the midst of this labyrinth of individual defeats and back pain, Liang Jingkun found an oasis, a place where he remembered what it feels like to lift a trophy. That place was Bhubaneswar, India, at the Asian Team Championships, October 25, although its effects are felt in the morale of 2026. The men's final pitted China against Hong Kong. China, it was a team match, where glory is shared, but every point counts. Lin Shidong opened the account with an easy victory. Wang Chuqin struggled, but won the second point. And then came Liang Jingkun's turn. Opposite him was Yu Guangguo, and Liang stepped onto the court with a determination of steel. It wasn't an easy match. He won the first game 13-11. Tight, hard. The second, more relaxed, 11-6. And the third, again at the limit, 12-10. But the important thing is, he won them all. A 3-0 partial and a 3-0 final for China. Liang Jingkun closed the final, put the finishing touch, and celebrated with his teammates. For a moment, the individual pressure vanished. He was part of a team, of a perfect machine that, once again, demonstrated its continental dominance. This type of victory is a bomb. It reminds the player that he is still important, that the coach trusts him to close a final, that his experience matters. The problem, and it's a major one, is that the professional circuit is 90% individual. Ranking points are earned in individual tournaments. And there, the shadow of the slump remains long. It was a mirage of greatness in the middle of the desert of results. A sign that the ability is there, that the cool wrist for decisive points still exists. But also, an uncomfortable question. Why doesn't this version of Liang appear regularly in WTT tournaments? Let's leave context and injury aside for a moment, and delve fully into technique, what is actually failing in Liang Jingkun's game. Because beyond the pain, there are purely table tennis aspects that explain the defeats. First, let's talk about his greatest virtue and paradoxically his greatest weakness at the moment: power. Liang is a rhythm player. When he's on form, he imposes his law through powerful shots, deep balls that give the opponent no breathing room. But when his body isn't responding, that power becomes predictable. Opponents, especially young ones like Lin Shidong, have figured him out. They know that if they withstand the initial onslaught, Liang tends to drop intensity or make errors. Second aspect, footwork, essential in table tennis. With the lumbar injury, Liang's lateral movement has been compromised. Before, he was a steamroller, moving comfortably from forehand to backhand. Now at times, he seems stuck on the court, waiting for the ball instead of going to meet it. This forces him to hit from awkward positions, generating weaker balls that the opponent can exploit. Third point, service return. In modern table tennis dominated by players like Wang Chuqin or the Europeans, serve and return are lethal weapons. Liang has always been stronger in the rally than on the return, but when the physique fails, the return becomes even more complicated. Opponents know this and vary their serves constantly, seeking to disrupt his already diminished reaction capacity. Matches against players with deceptive serves or complex spins, like Dang Qiu, have become very difficult for him. Finally, the mental factor. And this is not a criticism. When you know your body could fail at any moment, your mind fills with what ifs. What if I make this move and it hurts? What if I extend the rally and don't get there? That doubt, that fraction of a second of hesitation, is lethal in a sport of reflexes. Liang no longer plays with the freedom he once had. He plays with the fear of breaking down, and that makes him hold back in certain moments, precisely when he should step on the gas. Look, if we compare his matches from 2023, when he reached finals and won titles, with those of 2026, the difference is subtle but evident. His timing has worsened. He arrives a fraction later to the balls, which forces him to force his arm even more to compensate, which in turn punishes his back further. It's a vicious cycle that's hard to escape. We arrive at the moment to look ahead. We are in 2026, and the calendar doesn't stop. What can we expect from Liang Jingkun in the coming months? Several scenarios are on the table. The first scenario, the optimistic one, involves intelligent workload management. Just as Lin Shidong had to withdraw from a tournament to recover, it's possible the technical team will ration Liang's appearances. Fewer tournaments, but of higher quality, with time to train and regain confidence. If he can reach a world championship or a smash with his body at 80% or 90%, he remains a contender. His experience in tough matches, his ability to compete, is still there. We saw it in the Bhubaneswar team final. The second scenario, the realistic one, speaks of a transition. Liang is 29. In the current Olympic cycle, many players his age begin to hand over the baton to the younger ones. His role might evolve from being the undisputed star to a rotation player, a specialist in doubles or team competitions, where his experience is a luxury. It wouldn't be a failure. It would be the natural evolution of a career. The third scenario, the toughest, involves an intervention. A disc herniation of that nature doesn't heal with absolute rest alone. At some point, the need for more aggressive treatment must be assessed. If Liang opts for surgery, the recovery time would be considerable. And in a team like China's, a year out could mean losing the train forever. There's another external factor to consider, the possible return of major figures. There's constant talk about whether Fan Zhendong, Little Fatty, will return strongly, or whether Ma Long, despite his age, will continue competing at the highest level. Wang Liqin, one of the legends, is involved in management and has been seen in the stands, observing, taking notes. Every decision these figures make will directly affect the space Liang occupies in the team. To round off this analysis, I want to bring in some external voices, not just ours, but those who understand the game and the protagonists themselves. Let's start with Liang, the great helmsman. Although he hasn't spoken specifically about Liang in recent weeks, he has analyzed similar cases. When Lin Shidong hit a crisis point, Liang pointed to three factors: injuries from the tight calendar, over-reliance on the backhand, and the fact that opponents have studied him and know where to attack. If we extrapolate, the analysis fits Liang. The lumbar injury is the physical factor. The reliance on brute power, when the body doesn't respond, is a tactical limitation. And opponents, after years on the circuit, have figured him out. Then there are the words of Wang Chuqin, the current #1. In a recent interview in Chongqing, he said, "I don't set concrete goals. I just want to enjoy every match." That phrase, seemingly simple, hides a truth. The pressure is such that sometimes you have to remember why you play. Liang needs to rediscover that enjoyment. His matches have become an ordeal, a suffering. Until he smiles on the court again, the game won't flow. And then there are the comments from analysts. When Liang fell in Chongqing, many highlighted his fighting spirit, his ability to come back against Xiang Peng, but they also pointed out that his physique wasn't enough. That's the phrase that sums up his 2026. The physique isn't enough. It's not a lack of talent, it's not a lack of heart. It's that the machine, no matter how much you oil it, has a broken part. Even the gestures of his teammates speak volumes. When Liang knelt on the court after losing to Qiu, the image of his teammates and coaches going to console him, helping him to his feet, is the image of a team that knows their teammate is struggling. In the locker room, everyone knows Liang's pain, and everyone knows that when the mind falters because of the body, no tactic matters. And so we reached the end of this journey. We've spent minutes dissecting numbers, analyzing injuries, reviewing matches. But I want us to take away more than just statistics. Liang Jingkun was born in 1996 in Tangshan. He is 29 years old. He has dedicated his life to a sport that, in his country, is almost a religion. He has been world number 2. He has won medals at world championships. He has faced suspensions and learned from them. He has experienced success and is now experiencing a slump. But the slump doesn't define a player. What defines him is how he emerges from it. What is happening with Liang Jingkun in 2026 is complex. It's a perfect storm where a serious injury, fierce internal competition, a wave of hungry youngsters, and an immediate demand for results all converge. But it's also a story of resilience, of a man who, with a 3.2mm disc herniation, keeps putting on the jersey, keeps competing, keeps looking for a way to win. Table tennis is a sport of details. A thousandth of a second, a centimeter in wrist position, a gram of pressure on the serve. Liang is fighting against all these details, and also against his own body. Some will say his cycle is coming to an end. Others, the more optimistic, will say he's in a hole from which only great champions emerge. The only sure thing is that the story isn't over. 2026 still lies ahead. There are tournaments, points, matches remaining, and as long as Liang Jingkun keeps stepping onto the court with that warrior's gaze, there is hope. There is hope of seeing him again in a final, seeing him lift a trophy, seeing him silence the critics with his game. Because in sports, as in life, it doesn't matter how many times you fall, it matters how many times you get up. And Liang, the giant of Tangshan, has been getting up all season, again and again. Thank you for joining me for this analysis. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. And above all, don't miss the upcoming tournaments, because the story of Liang Jingkun in 2026 still has many chapters to be written. See you at the table.